Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farrukh Pitafi. Viewers, once again we are going to talk about Afghanistan. And when we actually decided that we are going to discuss this matter, at that time we did not know that Afghan Taliban will be declaring their interim government. So we are going to talk about that as well. Remember, in the intervening period, since last time we spoke about Afghanistan situation, a lot has changed. One thing that is important to remember is Panjshir. The value of Panjshir, the only holdout that was there from the opposition or resistance, has fallen to Taliban. That is not all. We saw, various other aspects, speculations in the international media, and then, of course, there is the element of Indian media that actually kept on showing a picture or video of an F-15 flying in the US and kept on claiming that it is basically Pakistan's plane inside Afghanistan. So when you have such a moronic kind of journalism going on in the region, one has to really look at things and take stock of things. But today, because there was this statement that only concluded an hour ago by Zabiullah Mujahid, the spokesman of Afghan Taliban, there are certain cards that we are going to read for you. There are details that are crucial. Let me quote what he has been saying. Number one, only the will of Afghans will be applicable in the country. After today, no one will be able to interfere in Afghanistan. The Taliban spokesperson, Zabiullah Mujahid. Then further, he goes on to say, the country will now be called the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. The heads of various other ministries will be appointed. Soon, all groups have been represented in the cabinet. Then he announced the name of various important people who are going to be appointed. Mullah Muhammad Hassan Akhund to be head of the new government. We are concluding that it will be Prime Minister post. If it is not, still he will be the head of the government. Then Taliban's deputy leader Sirajuddin Haqqani will be acting interior minister. Then Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar to be deputy head of the government. Mullah Amir Khan Muttaqi named foreign minister. Sher Muhammad Abbas Stanukzai to be caretaker foreign minister. He is someone we know and who is quite visible on international channels as well. Abdul Haq Wasik named as Minister for Intelligence, and Mullah Yaqub Mujahid, the son of Mullah Umar, the founder of Taliban, to be the defense minister. So this is what we know so far. There are two things. One, a good news that there is some kind of clarity about what kind of government there is going to be. One bad news, of course, this doesn't seem to be very inclusive government. When Zabiullah Mujahid was asked during the question and answer session, he said that it is not only caretaker setup, it is still incomplete, and we will announce when other people are included. So we are going to talk about all these matters and more. In order to help us understand these issues, in the studio we are joined by Khalid Taimur Akram Saab, who is Executive Director, Center for Global and Strategic Studies. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Rashid Safi Saab, who is a senior journalist, understands the region well. Thank you very much, Safi Saab, for being part of the program. Next to him is Barrister Dr. Muhammad Ali Saab, who is a senior analyst, also a veteran politician and lawmaker. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Later, I'm told that we might be joined by somebody on Skype. The moment they come, I'm going to introduce them as well. Let me start with Khalid Taimur Akram Saab. What do you make of this announcement, sir?
Yes, Taliban have just recently, just 2 hours back, they had announced their interim government. They are very cautious. They have said that they will be announcing the new appointments very soon, because they have to include the other ethnic people in this, who are not included. So I would say that they are moving very cautiously. They are not giving any chance to the international media and to the foreign powers to criticize them. They are trying to behave very mature. And yes, they have. There was an urgency to announce the basic structure of the government because since 15th of August there was practically everything was standstill in Afghanistan. So I would say that this is a good start which they have taken, very cautious. But in days to come, they are going to face serious problems because still they are negotiating with the other ethnic groups for the inclusion in the government. We have been hearing in last couple of days that there have been quite uncertainties, but whatever they have announced today, they have repeatedly said, because I was hearing that press conference, he was repeatedly saying that all these are the acting appointments and new appointments will be included in that. It means that they are very cautious.
They might be very cautious, but we have been seeing Hamid Karzai, Abdullah, other people actually engaging in dialogue, and it doesn't seem that they have made their mark so far, right? On one side, that is the case. Then the international media keeps on bringing up the fact that half of these people, one of them is actually has returned from Gitmo. Sirajuddin Haqqani is on international terror watch, FBI's terror watch. So you were saying that they are not going to actually give any opportunity to the media or the international powers to criticize. But there we see names which actually create confusion.
Yes, but we have to see that who these people are and under what circumstances they were put on this terror watch list. Let me tell you that these are the same people with whom the US signed an agreement in February 2020. So they had acknowledged that, and now the US and the other powers, if they were ready to sit with them in February and ready to sign the agreement under pomp and show, and they had been negotiating with all of them in Qatar.
So that's a very good point, and let me remind everybody that while everybody keeps on talking about Haqqani, he was a gentleman who actually wrote an editorial piece, an op-ed for New York Times, and that was carried. Go figure. Let me bring in Safi Saab, your take on the cabinet and how it has unfolded so far.
Well, if you're talking about there is two perspective about the announcement which being made a short while ago by Zabiullah Mujahid. If you ask me about the perspective of Taliban, so it's a total Taliban dominant cabinet. Taliban has their own Shura system, and they have 26 members in Raibari Shura, and 6 are their supreme leaders. So exactly these people, although these people are not directly part of the Taliban Shura, but it's similar numbers. 33 members are running the whole Taliban organization since 40 years when they came to, I'm talking about when Mullah Umar came to start a movement. If you're asking in international perspective, so it's not inclusive government.
Let me take a leaf out of what you are saying. And say, until only few days ago, we were hearing that Mullah Batada is going to have the political dispensation. Out of blue, Mullah Ahund actually comes and takes over, and he is going to head. I know he is a founder member of the group, and he was very close to Mullah Umar as well. But why this last minute change?
It's not a last minute because it's been decided some 2 weeks back when the Raibari Shura held in Kandahar, and the Mullah brother and other leadership of Taliban being convinced that Mullah Muhammad Hassan Ahund should lead the government, and you know that he is the very close, very close friend of Mullah Omar, and he's one of the oldest Talib leader in this setup. So it's in Taliban.
Head of the Shura as well.
He is the head of the Rahbari Shura. In some extent, actually is not basically leading the Shura, because Shura has their own setup, but he's more like a religious leader. He never took directly part in the in the Talib movement in the war, but he always remained behind, and he is the mastermind of the whole movement.
Right. So we keep on hearing about various masterminds. Earlier we were hearing that Mullah Yaqub might be the 32 years old, mastermind of the whole resistance. But let me bring in Barrister Dr. Muhammad Ali Saif. Your opening comments on this. What kind of government do you find it, and is it going to have some kind of acceptance internationally? Because we have heard Russia saying that if it is not inclusive, we are not going to accept it. We heard Joseph Biden, the president of the US, that at this moment it is too premature to talk about any kind of recognition. So.
Well, I believe that the announcement is just a couple of hours old, so we have to wait in order to see how the dust settles and what comes out of it. But apparently my take on this announcement today is that there is indeed no doubt that it's an all-Taliban government, and most of the people who have been appointed today, even within Taliban, they are from the Kandahari faction of Taliban. Apart from the Haqqani, the one post that the Haqqanis have been given. So therefore, insofar as the cabinet concerned, is dominated overwhelmingly by the Kandahari group, which includes two people basically. Mullah Omar's faction, people who were loyal to him and who fought with him and who struggled under his command, and also to some extent Mullah Mansoor and the current existing Mullah Hibatullah. So mostly it's a Kandahari dominated cabinet, number one. Number two, I believe that as I always say, that Taliban are in the process of transforming from a guerrilla resistance movement, which have just a few weeks ago occupied or won the war and occupied Kabul, into a political organization. So they will take time. It's not that easy to because they're still in the midst of the challenge. Kashmir, Panjshir, probably in some parts of Panjshir the fighting is still going on. Otherwise, the Taliban have taken over, but still there is some pockets of resistance. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is that if I put myself in Taliban's shoes, I would also, instead of trying to be democratic and instead of trying to show the world that I'm a nice, good guy, I think instead of that, I would rather take a step that is more concrete and strong
to consolidate
my own strength. Because if I do not, and at this particular juncture in time, if I start, involving people who might not be loyal to me, who might not be on the same, frequency as Taliban has. So therefore, why to take the risk? And that is why they have said that it is an interim setup, not a permanent setup.
Right.
But in the times to come, we have to see whether they include others or not.
Right. Today they said in so many words that they are going to include other people as well. But my concern is at this moment, because you brought up the matter of transforming from an insurgency into a political force, that actually raises certain concerns. A cleric is going to head a government. All clerics are going to be under him, right? Who's going to run the economy? Who's going to run the government?
But obviously, the technocratic side of the running of the government, it includes economy, which is the most fundamental requirement in any government, that economy should be run smoothly and efficiently and professionally. Also, foreign affairs, military matters, all these things are there. No doubt, these are the challenges that they'll be confronting. But insofar as this aspect is concerned, whether they will be recognized or not, the point that you raised in the first question about Russia and US, I think recognition, political recognition and political legitimacy at the moment is not the priority of the Taliban, because they have to first consolidate their hold on Afghanistan.
They need money to run the country.
Of course, but that's the second step. For the time being, right now, what they need to do is they need to have an established based in Afghanistan, number one, so that they are not militarily challenged and thrown out, number one. Number two, insofar as de facto status is concerned, they have already occupied the whole of Afghanistan. There is no doubt in that.
Right.
So de facto recognition should be accorded by somebody to them, because I mean, and mostly those countries which are directly affected by the relationship that they have with Afghanistan. And lastly, last point, according to the UN Charter, I think it's nobody's business to tell you who should be appointed as minister and not. It's the prerogative of Afghan people, and Afghan people at the moment, fortunately or unfortunately, are represented by Taliban.
Right.
So therefore they are taking the decision. Russia or America or UK has nothing to do with who should be finance minister and who should be interior minister.
My concern is that Afghanistan is basically indebted, right? It has a debt of $7 billion, which is not going anywhere. But their foreign currency reserves are parked in New York, where they are at $9 billion, where they have been frozen. And at this moment, they need capital to run their business of government. With the exception of China, and we heard Zabiullah Mujahid basically, not the Chinese representatives, all the neighbors are saying that the government should be inclusive, and then we are going to recognize it. And that becomes a problem.
Fair enough, no doubt. This is
No
what
money.
international. This is what international.
The country's amenities, UN bonds are collapsing.
Agreed. But then look at the priorities and look at the situation on ground. Did Taliban win this war only on the basis of money? No. They won it on the basis of the bullet that they fired.
Yes.
Right? They fought it out, and for 20 years.
You yourself said.
Yes.
You said that they have to now progress to becoming a political force.
They have to. But that stage has to come. They are moving in that direction, in my opinion. I'm not supporting them, but I think they are moving in that direction.
Khalid Taimur Saab, economy is collapsing. Amenities are collapsing. Currency is collapsing. Inflation has become unbearable. Then we saw protests are there. And then propaganda will continue against whosoever actually finally forms the government. So do you think that at this moment Afghan Taliban, after forming the government, will be able to do justice to the Afghan people?
Yes, first of all, economy and currency, everything is linked to, as we know that Afghanistan is a landlocked country, and they are dependent on all the neighbors like Tajikistan, even China, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, Iran. They are all dependent on the neighboring countries, and the neighboring countries have already been giving them humanitarian support. We have seen Prime Minister Imran Khan talking to the United Nations Secretary General a few days back, and has been calling the United Nations to come forward and help the Afghan people.
And United Nations is going to hold a meeting on 13th on the matter.
Yes, one is this. Second, this, as Barrister Saab has already mentioned, that for economy and for all these things, what I know of the things that they are talking to various technocrats, and they are going to have various technocrats in their government. Yes, above the technocrats setup, all the ministers and all those things they are mullahs, and they are not very well educated from that aspect. But for running the government, they would require technocrats. They have to run their state bank, they have to run their currency, they have to bring their currency at par to the international standards. They have to fulfill all the international regulatory regimes. They have to have some system of passports, some system of visas and everything. So that complete setup was already there in Afghanistan.
Right.
And of course,
people, many of whom were actually running the show, have actually left the country.
Yes, they have left the country. This is the biggest challenge for Afghans, that at present there's nobody there to control their airports, there's nobody there to control their immigration system. So for that, they would need time. They have to talk to the people at the grassroots level. They have to...
How much time? And they already took 3 weeks?
3 weeks, actually, we have to give them one credit, that previously there was only one enemy. The enemy, all the Taliban factions were united against one enemy, that was to throw out the foreign forces out of their land. So after all the foreign forces have left, so now they have to sort out the issues among themselves. We have Uzbek ethnic Taliban, we have Tajik ethnic Taliban, we have...
we didn't see any of those ethnic Taliban being represented in the cabinet.
Yes, that is why if you see...
Hazara,
Yes, Hazara-
today we discussed that
Yes.
they have actually appointed a mayor who is Hazara, and we haven't seen any Hazara
That is
represented.
why if you see that I'm repeatedly I'm calling today's press conference as a very cautious press conference, because at least for 20-30 times Zabiullah Mujahid used this word that this is an interim government and we are going to include more people in days to come. Yes, they are talking with Uzbek ethnic Taliban.
Can you qualify the mandate of an interim government? Is it an interim decision or is it an interim government? Because interim decision means that tomorrow they are going to add more and then it is going to take final shape. But if it is an interim government, that means they are going to dissipate eventually and there is going to be a new government.
There is going to be, however things are moving, there will be a new government, because this government is considered of only two factions. So at present there are many other factions which have to be included in the government.
Right.
So if right now if they have announced, for example, 10 ministries, and if those 10 ministries are given to two factions, so once they have to adjust the other factions, they have to tell some of their people
So
to
it
come
is
down.
an interim
Yes,
decision.
it is an interim.
Prime Minister is not going to change.
Yes, and why Mullah Hassan Akhund became the head of the state? Because up
Head
till
of
now,
government.
head of
Head
the
of state
government,
will be
head
there.
of the government he has been made, because previously it was not there, and we were hearing some other news.
Yeah.
But then last couple of days had been quite rocky for them, because they had been negotiating and there was no other consensus being developed on any name. So
Right.
what I view is that at present,
If a government cannot, within 3 weeks of its victory, cannot form a government or create consensus today and have to actually go to this length, I don't know what happens after 3 months. Let me go back to Safi Saab. Sir, are you as optimistic as Tamur Saab is?
Yes, I am in a certain, you can say in a certain way, I feel optimistic feeling. But overall, if we talking about the promises which been made by the Taliban with the international community, so certainly they have right to object this cabinet right now. But
And remember, only a week ago, there was a presser in which it was said that the government is neither going to be a republic nor an emirate. And
Yeah.
surprise, today it is a theocracy,
Yeah.
an emirate.
we are not able to see in Gulbuddin Hikmatyar faction in this whole setup. We are not seeing any Hamid Karzai role. We are not seeing any Abdullah role. But on the other side, Taliban are claiming that they had accommodated all sects of the Afghanistan in this cabinet. For example, Commander Fasiuddin, he will lead the army. He will be likely army chief of Afghanistan. He belongs to Panjshir, and he led the Panjshir operation, and he is Tajik.
There is one.
Yeah, the other one, they have Hazara in it.
No, hang on. His name was announced or not?
Yeah, exactly. He been announced as a cabinet member. He will be chief of army staff of
And
Afghan.
Hazara.
They have Khalilur Rahman. They have Tajik. They have Hazara.
Khalilur Rahman is going to do what?
He will be look after the refugees ministry, and they have Hazara, they have Tajik, they have people from central Afghanistan, they have people from north, they have some commander from the south. So Taliban are very much convinced, and Zabiullah been asked the same question which are you asking us, and he said that this when we going in argument, so we can explain to the world that this cabinets belong to the whole Afghanistan.
And are you going to, in next breath, are you going to tell me that there is going to be a woman also in this cabinet?
So why we are expecting, are comparing Taliban government with Pakistan, India are...
Not Pakistan.
Yeah.
They said it
I'm not talking about EU or US.
No, hang on.
Yeah.
They said that it is going to be inclusive. How are you going to rule out 50%
But
of population?
they're also explaining that this is not the permanent government, it's a caretaker.
So there's going to be another prime minister?
No, I think the other sect like Gulbuddin Hikmatyar, the Hizb Islami, they must
Be
accept
included.
they must accept the top notch post if Taliban choose in future a permanent Prime Minister, Mr. Muhammad Hassan Akhund. So Hikmatyar will accept, Hamid Karzai will accept, Abdullah will accept, because the majority power are in the hand of Taliban, and they're claiming they are not only claiming, and they proved they took the power from these all elements.
No, I get that. And you're saying majority of power is in their hand. Total power might be in their hand.
Total
but
power.
they promised they are going to include other groups.
Yeah, so they still are, they said in Zabiullah Mujahid, and so we don't have any other option to believe them yet.
Okay.
But what is the next option if you reject this announcement? So there will be war, active war. We can say after the fall of Panjshir, since last 24 hours, that is remained very calm, and there is no incident of terrorism in the whole Afghanistan. So the other option will be anarchy if you don't take.
No, I'm glad that you actually brought up Panjshir, because I thought that many regional and international powers, after withdrawing from Afghanistan, started kind of attaching, playing out their hopes through Panjshiris, and that actually painted a target on their backs. In the end, where's Panjshir now?
Yeah, so Taliban is moving forward very strategically and very cleverly. They choose to invade and to conquer Panjshir by the Panjshiri Commander Fasiuddin. He belonged to the Tajik tribe.
That actually rings a very interesting bell regarding history, but I don't want to go into that detail. Let me go back to Barrister Saab. Barrister Saab, I get what exigencies on the ground are. I get what dynamics are. And one has to realize that, given our friend has just pointed out that they have included various ethnicities, it is a start. But honestly, do you think that after this, anybody from the region is going to recognize Afghan Taliban, including China? They have said that China is going to recognize us, but I really doubt that even China at this moment will be able to do it. Do you think?
You see, Pitafi Sahab, when you use the term recognition, it has legal connotations.
Right.
It's a legal term in international law.
Yeah.
Recognition of a state and recognition of a government. These are two, important elements of the law of recognition. Now, the issue is that there is a de facto recognition.
Right.
De facto Taliban are in power. They are controlling it.
Yeah.
And United Nations and some other countries are already interacting with them through supply of food and this and that, and interacting with them, maybe not directly but indirectly through Pakistan. Several embassies are still open in Kabul. So that shows the element of de facto recognition of their power. Insofar as de jure recognition is concerned, like legal recognition, that may take some time, and we will have to wait for that. And Taliban
How
also,
much time?
you see, I can't give you a date about
Any
it
idea?
because it depends on the
I'm not
situation.
asking you to sign
But
it.
I believe that today's step was a step in that direction. They have announced an interim government.
Right.
Now that is the first step, because even in international law, according to certain laid down principles, there should be a government, right? A representative government, whether people accept it or not, or internationally.
And because you are an expert on these matters as well, let me take you back to 1996, when Afghan Taliban controlled most of the country, but because de facto power lied with the Northern Alliance, the West and the international bodies kept on treating not the alliance as the de facto, de jure power. At that time, the world had the luxury of having such a power or element. At this moment, we know that Afghan government collapsed before Taliban took over, and at that time, whatever dominance were there have been smoked out of Panjshir as well. So now there is no de facto power. That actually can undermine a country's embassies, its connection with, it can become a no-go area without any recognition. Is it not a
No,
possibility?
no, it doesn't happen like this. You see, even the example that you gave, even at that time when Taliban started extending their influence in Afghanistan, before they entered Kabul and then after they entered Kabul, if you remember, Northern Alliance, Ahmad Shah Massoud and Burhanuddin Rabbani, their government was only cornered in Badakhshan and some areas of northern Afghanistan, and that's it. They had no control. In fact, 98% of the territory was already occupied by Afghanistan, by Taliban. So, but there was a de facto recognition, and some countries had de jure recognized it, like Pakistan, UAE, and Saudi Arabia.
The three countries have recognized it.
Yes.
But now, none other. And at that time, Taliban were the government, but they were not the state. Right now, it seems that they are government and they are the state.
So that is why I said that they already have the de facto recognition already, because they are in control. They are in control, number one. And none of their territory is occupied by any occupying power at the moment.
Right.
Now the only thing, the first step in this direction now, towards a proper recognition is, and legitimacy, international, to attract international legitimacy, is to have a government, right? That government might not be acceptable to you or to the world, but at the moment this is the first step. They have to take it whether they like it or not. So they have taken that step. Now maybe in the next few days or in the next few weeks to come, let's see how it transforms, how it goes. My understanding is that their first priority is to consolidate their hold on power. Once they do that, then they'll open up. Insofar as the inclusivity of the government is concerned, try to understand one thing. You see, as Rashid Safi, as Rashid Safi has pointed out, there are ethnic representatives in the Taliban government, but they are not. They are all supporters of Taliban. They are those who have fought alongside Taliban. There is nobody like from Hikmatyar's side or Abdullah or Ashraf Hamid Karzai or any other faction, even Dostam in the north and what you call him, the most important commander Ismail Khan from Herat. I mean, there is nobody from those areas. But I think that with the passage of time, they will be including such people in their cabinet. If they do not do that, then yes, they will be sowing the seeds of discontent, and they will be creating a situation where their opponents will try to exploit those weaknesses and maybe create problem for them.
Right.
Because right now they are enjoying the thrust of their attack and they are actually flying high. Let them settle down, then they will also realize the realities of, because Afghanistan, end of the day, is a tribal society. There are ethnic, what you call it, the configuration in such a way that you have to keep everybody engaged. If you do not engage them, then you are actually allowing power pockets in different areas to spring up.
Right.
So I think that process will be tackled in the next few weeks.
Few weeks.
Yeah.
So finally, you have given us a timeline.
Yeah. A few months as well, you know.
Okay. Even few months might be acceptable, but beyond that, it becomes a problem. Currency. Do you think it is going to collapse? Because today, the word had it that today they have some kind of reserves or some kind of ability to carry on with the currency. Tomorrow, by evening, it might collapse.
Yes, this is going to collapse till the time the US does not releases the reserves. Number one, the state bank has to function their currency mechanism, the printing of the currency and everything is stopped.
Yeah.
So practically Afghanistan has to start from zero.
Yeah.
They have, as we have seen, they have again changed the flag. So up till now we are not clear that which is going to be the official flag, because
are they going to have a constitution?
Yes, they have to change the constitution, because
Are they going? Last time they were in power, they didn't have any constitution, did they?
But now I think they will have. Because as I said, that let's not compare the Taliban of 1996 with these Taliban. These Taliban are very well educated. Now they know the norms of the world. They know how to use social media. They are already present on social media. They even know the power of media, because today during the press conference he had the list of all the foreign journalists, and he was himself, the spokesperson was
calling out the names.
Calling out the name that okay, AP would ask the French. So they know how to manipulate with the media.
Yeah, but here's again another problem. Doha Accord was signed between Doha office and the US, right? the signatory was Mullah Baradar. Mullah Baradar now has been, downgraded. He is not going to be the head of government. What becomes of those assurances?
Actually, we have seen during the last couple of weeks that Doha Accord has neither been followed by the Americans nor being followed by Taliban. So, with the collapse of Ashraf Ghani government, most of the contents of the Doha Accord are already, I would say, they have just flushed away with the rain. And Doha Accord in days to come will not have any significance because Doha Accord did not cater for the Taliban government. Doha Accord did not cater for the collapse of the Ashraf Ghani government.
Right.
So with the running away of Ashraf Ghani, the way he ran away without negotiating with them, and there was practically no government in Afghanistan. So the Doha Accord significance has already gone down the drain. So I don't think that both sides, neither the Americans are going to look back towards that, nor the Taliban are going to look back towards them.
Right.
Now they have to have some kind of new regime, some kind of new accords internationally.
Right. Safi Sahab, you understand that the whole point of this discussion is to worry about the well-being of Afghan brethren. They have suffered a lot in 40 years, especially in past 20. And now it seems that economic hardship is going to actually confront them. So how do you actually propose a solution is found in coming days?
Actually, Zabullah Mujahid had already proposed the solution in today's press conference, and before some 2 days back, he very clearly showed their roadmap for the economic stability in Afghanistan. Especially, he is announced that Afghanistan is quite open for the CPEC. He said that although the Type P agreement is between Iran and India, they have a big part in that agreement, but even they also offered if India and Iran want, so they can implement that agreement as well. And they also announced that they have they are going to support the CASA 1000 agreement in the region. So they have a very comprehensive roadmap for the economic stability. But you are quite right.
Sorry to cut you. Are they betting on the fact that all these projects cannot wait, and that's why everybody will come on their knees to actually recognize?
If you remember, some 2 weeks back, the political the Doha political the Doha office political advisor Sher Mohammad Abbas Tanakzai, he addressed the nation, the Afghan nation. It was like 40-45 minutes speech, and he in 40-45 minutes he speak about 20 minutes about the economic crisis and economic solution of Taliban vision, and they give very huge importance to the China, and they offered and they asked Chinese to come to Afghanistan, and they said that they want trade, not aid.
Yeah, but all these statements are invitations, right?
Yes.
At this moment, we don't know whether the other side is going to accept until their spokesman.
Chinese are
actually,
very
their spokesman publicly says this. That hasn't happened. I'm told that we are left with 3 minutes, so I'm going to actually take those 3 minutes to Barrister with Dr. Muhammad Ali Saif and ask him to wind it up, give us a conclusion.
Yes, thank you, Pitafi Sahab. I believe Taliban are fully aware of the fact that there will be challenges, very serious challenges. In economy is one of the biggest challenges that they are going to confront, and I'm sure they are fully cognizant and fully appreciative of the fact that they have to take certain steps in order to address this issue. However, in your last program, I mentioned, this was my idea when we were discussing democratic dispensation in Afghanistan, and I mentioned that, in my opinion, Taliban are going to be, government is going to be modeled on the Iranian model of theocratic government, which will have some kind of public participation as well, but very limited because the policy level will be controlled by the theocratic circle or, of mullahs belonging to the Taliban movement. So therefore, this is what's going to happen. Insofar as international aid or trade and all these factors are concerned, which has to boost economy, the first primary requirement for that is security in the country. If security is ensured by Taliban, I'm sure that many investors will come into Afghanistan because it's a minerally rich country. It has lots of business opportunities. People will come irrespective of the fact, somehow directly or indirectly, whether Taliban are allowing women to attend schools or whether they are forcing them to cover themselves. These things become secondary in real politics when when you establish your writ. It is the writ of the government which, and if Taliban have to soften their image up, I think they will not compromise on their ideology, because if they do so, then they will be loosening their grip on power, because their support base of fighters who fought for them in the last 20 years, every Taliban commander is fully aware of the fact that if I soften up my position, there is a possibility that I'll lose my support. So they have to support base, not to who is sitting in Washington or somewhere. Because in my opinion,
the last you said that they are not going to compromise on their ideology. So all this talk of the new Taliban, old Taliban.
No, the change is definitely there, but like on the fundamentals of ideology. That's what I meant. Of course they have changed, but it's the fundamentals of their ideology, because if they do that, they will be taking the risk of losing their power base. Number one, their power base is not an educated US educated or British educated or India educated a graduate of economics in Kabul. Their support base is the fighter who tends to farm in the day and fights for them in the evening, in the night. So this is what their support base is.
Right.
The world must facilitate them. That's what I'm saying. And I would bring in here Pakistan's official stance, especially Prime Minister's stance. Several times we have said that the world must support and come to aid of Afghanistan.
But the government also has to be inclusive.
If they leave
they kept on saying that as well.
The only
I'm told that
government would be if Taliban would allow Zalmay Khalilzad to be the Prime Minister, then the Americans would accept it.
Right, but none of us is American, or for that matter Zalmay Khalilzad. I'm told that we have to conclude the program here. Barrister Dr. Muhammad Ali Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for your time. Khalid Taimur Akram Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for your precious time. Rashid Safi Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for your precious time and contribution as well. Viewers, this was today's program. There are developments that are unfolding and will continue to unfold. So we will keep on bringing discussions on these matters to you. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.